So you may have watched my video just a few minutes ago talking about how the Proud Boys screwed up, right? And you may not agree with my assessment. You may be saying, Tim, you're wrong. You have no idea what you're talking about. By all means, disagree with me. I appreciate it when people disagree with me. And I appreciate that I can express my opinion, of which you may disagree. But now let's talk about the inverse. Even though the Proud Boys kicked some people while they were down, it looked bad, they're getting arrested, it's bad press for the Republicans and for the right, it's not going to have as big of an impact as stories like this. This is from the Free Beacon. New York man charged with threatening 2 senators over Kavanaugh support. A 74-year-old New York man was arrested Friday for violently threatening 2 U.S. senators over the support of Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh. Beginning September 27th, Ronald DeRisi left more than 10 threatening voicemails to 2 different lawmakers who were not named, according to the official complaint released by prosecutors in the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of New York, CNN reports. According to the complaint, in one voicemail, he specifically threatened to shoot a senator, saying, "It's a 9mm, side of your effing skull, you scumbag mother effer." I don't know if I can read some of this because I don't want to get in trouble on YouTube. And then mentioning Kavanaugh at the end of the call. Here's the thing. The violence and the threats typically come from the left and the right. And I think that's fair to anybody who's paying attention, anybody who's got Google, you can look this up. So when the Proud Boys engaged in that street brawl, it was exactly what a lot of these activists needed to counter the narrative. But, as I mentioned in the previous video, this doesn't motivate Democrats. The Democrats don't care if the Proud Boys are going to their silly little events and saying whatever they want. They don't. It doesn't motivate them. This motivates Republicans. So here's what happens. The Proud Boys get into a fight. The Proud Boys go a little too far. They get arrested. They're getting arrested. They're surrendering. And that's bad. But it's still more motivating to Republicans for a couple reasons. For one, Antifa started the fight. We know they started the fight. Plain and simple. That's going to motivate Republicans. Proud Boys were defending themselves. They were not instigating the fight. They went too far. They're getting arrested. Even more motivating to the right because they're upset and they wanted the Proud Boys to fight back. When we see these protests against conservative politicians, then people say things like you're going too far. You shouldn't. These are mobs. Something happened to Nancy Pelosi where a bunch of conservatives were calling her a communist or something, and like Dana Lash was calling it out. People said she deserves it. She doesn't. Here's the thing about this senator, these 2 senators, and this guy who was threatening them. This is extremely motivating to the right. You have a guy sitting at home threatening people with death for the way they're voting. Things are getting so extreme in this country that, honestly, I can't imagine it's going to get better. I say all the time, I feel like it's going to get worse. But what the Democrats, the reason, in my opinion, why I think they're going to be losing is simply because no matter what the circumstance is, no matter if it's the Proud Boys, going too far or a senator getting threatened or getting death threats, it motivates the right and not the left. And the left doesn't have much to go on right now. Not only that, but they don't have very charismatic personalities. So we'll read through this story, but I also want to talk about the midterms and what we need to do. So another call to the same senator, he said, "We're tired of this guy sucking taxpayer money, getting a free effing ride. How many more years are you going to do it? None. He's a dead man, 9mm, side of the effing head." Honestly, I'm going to stop reading this now because you get it. It's a death threat, and I feel like if I read through this, it doesn't matter if it's, people will take it out of context. A second senator's office provides several vulgar voicemails that also made threats over Kavanaugh, at one point saying, "I'm going to get you." DeRisi began leaving the messages the same day Christine Blasey Ford testified Kavanaugh assaulted her when they were teenagers in the early 1980s. He denied the allegation and other uncorroborated charges of sexual misconduct from his teenage years that went public late in the confirmation process. DeRisi pleaded guilty in Nassau County First District Court to 1 count of aggravated harassment in the 2nd degree in 2015 after calling a victim's home and office numerous times and making threats, according to the complaint. Kavanaugh's nomination was eventually approved by the Senate after one most contentious Supreme Court. Yeah, we understand all that. So here, it's a rather simple story, I will say. But I want to talk now about a little bit in the midterms. So we're going to move away from this threat stuff. We've got 2 Senate races that are really, really interesting to me. First, you got Bob Menendez versus Bob Hugin in New Jersey. This is really interesting to me, for one, because I live in New Jersey, and so I have to choose who I'm going to vote for. And I don't really vote. We also have Heidi Heitkamp in, God, I don't even know where she is. But the reason I bring her up, and I'm much less interested in her because I'm not really paying attention to this stuff, but I think there's something to be said for fighting for red state Democrats and blue state Republicans. All right, look at what's his face, West Virginia Munchin or whatever his name is, the guy who voted, the Democrat who voted for Kavanaugh. That's somebody who was a Democrat who voted with Republicans because he's in a red state. That's really good. We need this, right? And so I've been thinking about Bob Menendez and Bob Hugin. And if you're not familiar, Bob Menendez has been accused of all sorts of really bad things. His positions are very progressive, he's very anti-Trump, and he's the incumbent. Bob Hugin is a blue state Republican. What that basically means is he's essentially a Democrat. He's got a bunch of liberal positions. He's relatively moderate. And I'm not saying, I'm going to vote for who. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't even know if I'm going to vote. I might vote. But I find it interesting that maybe we should be encouraging blue state Republicans and red state Democrats because it forces everyone closer together. Think about it, like Brett Kavanaugh getting confirmed because a red state Democrat voted to confirm him. Then, we actually had a Republican, voting against Kavanaugh, or abstaining essentially, but that, the idea is, in my opinion, we've got so much division in this country. We've got the parties moving further and further away from each other. We have people who don't care whether or not they don't care about what you believe in, they care about which party you're a member of, and I think that's wrong. I think that's a bad thing. When I look at what Hillary Clinton said about civility, that was wrong, absolutely wrong, and that makes me not like the Democrats, but not all Democrats, because Heidi Heitkamp said that was wrong. And when I saw that, I said, you know what, maybe that's a Democrat that needs to stay in office to influence other Democrats. Maybe we need blue state Republicans to influence Republicans. Because if we keep just pushing the line down the middle and pushing each other away, then you're going to have Republicans who are going to be hardcore in one side, on one side of the camp, and Democrats on the other, and nothing in between, and that's bad. What I think is a solution would be if we actually got some more, crossover. Look, you live in New Jersey. It's overwhelmingly Democrat, mostly liberals, people who are left-wing. But if it's actually a neck-and-neck race, which is really interesting because people didn't think Bob Menendez would be threatened. But because of the scandals, he's been accused of some really, really bad stuff, like underage girls stuff. You know what I mean? These are the attack ads that are running. And he also went to trial over fraud charges, I believe. It was a mistrial. One of the guy he was accused of helping apparently got convicted or something, so it's bad. Because of this, you got a neck-and-neck race. So again, I don't want to make it seem like, I don't know a whole lot about Bob Hugin. I know that he's pro-choice. I know that he's a very moderate individual on most issues. But I don't want to make it seem like I know everything about him, other than I think there's an interesting idea in getting in Republicans from blue states and Democrats from red states to force the parties closer together. And I don't think Trump is helping. When we look at this story, Trump, anybody who votes for a Democrat now is crazy. It's making it really, the Democrats are making it really hard for me to disagree with Trump here because, in my opinion, a lot of the Democrats are kind of going crazy. I've watched their ads. They're basically just being pushed too far to the left. It feels like the left is being spread so thin. And I think it's one of the reasons why Trump won. We look at that study from, Hidden Tribes, and it shows you that traditional and passive liberals, they're exhausted, they're unengaged, they're not voting. And that means there's a huge opportunity for conservatives to keep winning, and the progressives are getting desperate. Because of that, Democrats trying to win know they're not going to get the liberals, they've got to push further left, and so the left base is being spread out, while the right is actually coalescing around Trump. And that makes it much easier for the Republicans to win. Let's take a quick look at this. I don't want to get too much into it because I feel like, we started on one track and now we're kind of moving on to another. But Trump said, let's get these people out of here. Trump said on Friday of elected Democrats, there's something wrong, they're cuckoo. President Donald Trump said Friday night that Democratic immigration policy is so bad, anybody who votes for a Democrat now is crazy. Speaking to a crowd of supporters in an airplane hangar, Trump hammered Democratic leaders with fact and fiction about their positions on immigration, a hot-button issue in his border state that he won by just 3 points in the 2016 presidential election. So, here's the thing. Or actually, we'll keep going. 2 years ago, Trump and his allies excoriated Hillary Clinton for saying she considered half his voters to be a basket of deplorables, with some of his rally goers here on Friday night wearing clothes or holding signs referring to the deplorables remark. And a lot of people call themselves that. But let's talk about what Trump's saying in terms of the Democrats. I think there's a concern that, or I should say, I am concerned. I don't know if that's the right word, but because the Republicans just want to win, they want to control everything, they're saying no to Democrats. But I think we need to make sure we don't push each other away from each other to an extreme degree. Because of what the Democrats are doing, you have Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Democratic Socialist. You have this far left push where they don't believe in borders. Not hyperbole, literally don't believe in borders. You've got there are these videos going viral of 4,000 people breaking through the border of Mexico and Guatemala and like running full speed into the country. And this scares people. This scares your average American who wants there to be some kind of order. But for whatever reason, the Democrats, in their desperation, are embracing people they don't fully understand, to quote Batman. That's the way I see it. Trump won. Conservatives are starting to dominate digital media. There are still really big, well-funded digital media companies that are overwhelmingly progressive, for sure, but there's a lot of little conservative outlets that are doing really well, and conservatives engage way more online than the left does. But because of this, the Democrats keep losing. They have no charismatic leaders. They have no strong positions. Elizabeth Warren, for the love of God, what is she doing? DNA tests. And then, in their desperation, they turned to a group they didn't fully understand, the Democratic Socialists of America. And I would say Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is one of these people. Because the DSA, no borders, no profits, no prisons. They have extreme positions. And for some reason, the Democrats are like, this is the future of the party. Yep, it's the future of you losing every election now until forever if you keep embracing things the average American doesn't want. Plain and simple. So, I don't know, I feel like this video kind of went off on a little bit of a tangent, but for the most part, it's just kind of midterm talk, I guess. I want to talk about some of the ideas around the midterms, and, you know, basically, I had this story about the senators that I wanted to connect to the Proud Boys video that I just did, but it was like going to be way too long, so this was kind of an amalgam of two smaller issues that I think I wanted to bring together. But anyway, stick around. I got another video coming up in just a few minutes, so I'll see you then.